emotions that become my butchers and tormentors in hell. Okay, normally we give the thought about our unhappiness, we give to others. So here he says we are creating our own hells and our own hungry ghost realms and our own suffering. It's a very, very high view. I mean, you need a lot of self-confidence and you need to know what the kleshas are, because otherwise you go, I am a bad person, when you hear that. You know, it's my fault. Somebody gets hurt, it's my fault. Yeah. It's not the fault of the mind now, but it's the fault of the mind that was before, and that mind is not permanent. That mind changes moment by moment by moment. So the same thing, you know, maybe you know the story of the Buddha. He was attacked, like it was Gautama at that time. He wasn't the Buddha yet, he wasn't fully awakened, but in his last night, he was attacked by kleshas. Same way as these kleshas, they attack you when you are in your meditation. Aversion. Oh, how long is this going to last? You know, it's too hot. It's too cold. There's pain in the knee. There's pain in the back. Aversion. Then the mind starts to comfort itself. And, when this is finished, you know. How many of you have not made plans for tonight? No? Not yet. Okay. Or for tomorrow also nothing? You totally here?
Tomorrow I work.
Okay, for your free time, plans for your free time. So we start to kind of, then I watch this movie, or I'll eat this food, or I'll have this shower, or I'll have this bath. It's like we usually comfort ourselves with attachment also in our... It comes like, if you do longer retreats, if it doesn't happen here, it's probably too short, but if you do longer retreats, like you calm yourself down with future pleasures. So you say, okay, please endure, then you will have this and this. And it seems comforting. But it takes us away from the meditation, and it enforces this kind of view that having these things is happiness and meditation is suffering. So again we put the wrong label. We think meditation is suffering, so then of course we start to hate it. And we put the label happiness on these sense pleasures, which throw us into hells. So there we go. 36. Therefore, as long as this enemy is not slain with certainty before my very eyes, I shall never give up exerting myself towards that end. Having become angry at someone who caused only slight and short-lived harm, I will not sleep until my enemy is overcome. This is an example that if somebody has harmed you, how we obsessively kind of go, and how, you know, we're so decent that we're not really kind of plan how to harm him. Still, somehow, we have a thing, I want to get back at this person, somehow, yeah? And we're obsessed by this. So we should be, we take that kind of energy that we have, that we want others to bring to court or to punish them or whatever. So, of course, for us, it's never harming them, it's only punishing them because they deserve it. Yeah, see what I mean? Educating them, exactly. So we cannot let go. We spend a lot of time and energy. So the same time and energy now we put onto the kleshas. I will not rest until those are educated. I will tell them not to harm me anymore. And it can be quite funny when you do role play. Yeah, also maybe with your children. One represents anger, the other represents fear, the third one represents patience, so they start talking with each other, the anger against, the patient against the anger, or the courage against the fear, or the whatever, attachment against contentment. It's quite funny for kids to do that. So, but you need to give them a bit of time so that they can think about it. Spontaneously, and you can do it with yourself. You take on, different voices, like the Kolum. One time very happy and very, very clever, and other times very stupid and very nasty. The vicious. This is our eye. Sometimes quite clever also, and sometimes even intelligent, but then other times really stupid. So like this. So I will not stop until these kind of enemies are overcome. If I can do it in worldly terms with others, if I can put so much awareness and conscientiousness on how to educate that other person, I can also then turn it towards myself. And if a while engaged in a violent battle, vigorously desiring to conquer those whose disturbing conceptions will naturally bring them suffering and death, men disregard the pain of being pierced by spears and arrows and will not withdraw until the day is won. So we take the courage of a soldier also. We think, some people, when they have a cause, they can give their life, they can give their comfort. I mean, you've all been to the army, haven't you? Yes. Yeah, I guess. Was it comfortable?
No.
Okay, why were you able to endure it?
Because I was a patriot.
Yeah, you had a cause for your country, some of you. Others, they think it's impermanent, it will finish, I have to do it. We see the necessity of having to do it, otherwise in this country it's difficult if you don't go to the army.
Yeah. Not anymore.
I didn't go to that.
Huh?
I didn't go to army.
Okay. There is exceptions, but some people...
I didn't endure.
Huh?
I didn't endure.
Me too.
Okay, so we can't use that example. Then look at others who can endure, even though it's difficult. And I know, like, stories from other people who, especially when they were brave and tried to go against the system, they were, like, systematically broken. Like, punished and broken, and almost in a kind of sadistic way. It's like... Wow. But it's not only here, it's also in Switzerland. I mean, even though we don't have war, the army is horrible. How they make people suffer, the guys suffering, and how they do stupid things and, get drunk and it's like, ooh, wow. I don't know. So then here it's like, if some people can have the courage, what?
Why do the Swiss need an army?
For natural disaster.
Oh, it's the fire department, it's not an army.
Well, we have most of our fire department is like volunteers.
Oh.
So then, there's not, we don't have many professional fire people.
So what do the soldiers do?
Huh?
They just train to what?
And they even train to shoot. We even have a few planes, who are very fast. So what we use them for is for air shows. We use them for air shows, where they show their,
Yeah.
and sometimes accidents happen, like when there was the ski world championship in St. Moritz, one of these planes flew into the line where the camera was hanging, and the camera fell down, so that's why it's like quite But they used them for natural disasters, when avalanches and landslides and these kind of things, but they learn how to shoot. To give us some security, we have to defend our We're so small. I have so many attacks we can go. Swiss people, they still have this conviction that they were not attacked by the Germans or by the Italians because of the army. They all stood at the border with their rifles. All the men had to go to the borders. So it's not that they, and the women at home, they had to do the work, like farmers and all this was difficult. But why didn't we get attacked? Because of all the money that was in the Swiss banks.
Of course.
They knew exactly, if they attacked, then we have the whole world against us. So then we better leave them alone, because they also had their money in the banks. This is what protected us, not the new charity.
The reason to attack you, not to not attack you.
No, because everybody had their money in the Swiss banks.
So everyone will attack them.
Everybody. Also, the Swiss let the Germans kind of traverse the country at night with their trains of weapons and stuff to bring to Italy. So it wasn't that neutral that they kind of like to pretend. Yeah, so sad, really sad. They did take a few Jewish people, but not enough. And people who helped them got put into prison at that time. It was not allowed. But they didn't like the Nazis. This is one thing. My dad had a pistol next to him. He said, "If they come, I shoot myself." You should have shot the Nazis, not yourself. He said, "No, I don't want to. I shoot myself. I don't want to get under that kind of thing." So like that. But some people have this courage, okay? So this is about the courage to show that we can have courage to endure and to do and not to run away. So you don't take your example, you take people who endure and finish the army, even though it's difficult. 38, so there goes. So then if those can do it for like reasons that are really low, then what need to mention that I should not be faint-hearted and slothful, even if I'm caused many hundreds of sufferings, when now I strive to definitely overcome my natural enemies, these disturbing conceptions, which are the constant source of my misery. Okay, if they can do it, and this is as much more meaning than being a patriot, so therefore I'm going to do it. Again, he's just fortifying his determination. Okay? If even scars inflicted by meaningless enemies are worn upon the body like ornaments, then why is suffering a cause of harm to me who impeccably strives to fulfill the great purpose? Yeah, some people get injured in wars, they get medals and stuff, and they were quite proud about it because they were heroes. So then if even that with this meaningless thing, then I have a great purpose, liberating all sentient beings, I can also use that courage. Then if fishermen, hunters and farmers, thinking merely of their own livelihood, endure the sufferings of heat and cold, why am I not patient for the sake of the world's joy? So this is all about taking the hardships of, getting rid of our addictive behavior with our kleshas, enduring cold turkey, kind of, when we're not following them and we're not going to kind of, especially attachment and desire. You have to say no. No way. So it's difficult. It's not easy and it hurts. But if we see how people can endure, like first with the soldiers, now look at the farmers, how they out in the hot sun, the field. Fishermen in Europe in the winter, they go out with their boats, like it's freezing cold and it's dangerous, but they do it just for what? For a livelihood. So if I want enlightenment for all beings, I should be able also to endure it. When I promised to liberate all those beings, dwelling in the 10 directions as far as the ends of space, from their disturbing conceptions, I myself was not yet freed from mine. Okay, so here again we recall the promise that we have made, to wish and the wish to perfect that promise. I promised this kind of after chapter 1, 2, 3. I made this promise to help all beings from their disturbing conceptions. So how can I not work on freeing myself from them? Otherwise, how can I free others?
So working on getting rid, eliminating the kleshas is not unique to the Bodhisattva. It's not unique to the Bodhisattva.
No. Yeah.
But here it's for the benefit of all others.
Yes,
so I can be service to others.
Exactly. Like, I have to wish to free others from their kleshas. But if I don't work with my own kleshas, it's a bit of an illusion thinking I can liberate others from their kleshas.
The motivation is different.
The motivation is I need to get out of the swamp so I can take others out of the swamp. If you're stuck in a swamp, it's very difficult or impossible to take somebody else out. So you have to get out. So this is where you have these 3 bodhisattva motivations. Yeah, one is the king-like, one is the ferryman, and one is the shepherd. So the strongest is the shepherd, who says like everybody first and then me. Like the shepherd with his sheep, he really makes sure that the sheep are okay before he lies down to sleep. That's a very strong motivation. Everybody first, then me. It's not practical. So then the king-like motivation is the most practical. This is first me, and then I can take everybody out. So you you mix these motivations. So it's not just that or that. It's,
Either way, it's the benefit.
So kind of the energy of the shepherd, you use it as the king. Kind of. And then the ferry boatman is like everybody together. Okay, clear? Yeah? So again, the necessity to work with my own kleshas here, to be conscientious of them and to seeing how to, these verses should help us to defeat these kleshas. Right? You don't know how to cook and you want to teach somebody how to cook. It's ridiculous, isn't it? So we know, even you're lazy, okay, I want to teach my children how to cook, so first I have to learn myself. Thus unaware of even my own capacity, why is not somewhat crazy to have spoken like that? But as this is so, I must never withdraw from vanquishing my disturbing conceptions. So it's like, I kind of blabbered about, I want to be a bodhisattva and da 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 da. I was unaware of my capacity. So it's not to put himself down. It's to kind of giving more energy to keep going in that way. Kind of, okay, maybe I was a bit unaware how difficult that is, but nevertheless, I will keep going, no matter what. Yeah. When we say this, when I did that, I was not aware and I was just blabbering about something, maybe full of enthusiasm. We do that sometimes. Full of enthusiasm, we make a promise and then we go back on it. So here's like, I will not go back on it, even though I wasn't really aware of the consequences, but nevertheless, I will keep going in that direction. And to do this will be my sole obsession, holding a strong grudge. I shall meet them in a battle, but disturbing conceptions such as these destroy disturbing conceptions and for the time being are not to be abandoned. Oh, that is put in a very, very complicated way. Anybody has Stephen Batchelor's translation?
This is Stephen Batchelor's translation.
Is it?
Yeah. It says on the front.
Is it the same?
Full text,
Okay.
Stephen Batchelor.
Okay, let's take this apart. And I do the German one. Maybe I can understand better. Die negativen Emotionen werden das Objekt meiner Ansicht von seinem großen Leute constant. Okay, the negative emotions will be the object of my attachment. With a lot of anger, I will declare war to them. Even if those are negative emotions, I will use them to destroy the other negative emotion. So that kind of aversion towards the kleshas and the attachment to get rid of them should not be abandoned. That one. So we could call it aspiration instead of desire. Yeah, it's usually they make this distinction. If it's something wholesome, you call it aspiration. If it's something that leads to suffering, you call it desire. Yeah, but it's energy that we have, the energy to get something or the energy to get rid of something. So he's using that energy in order to get rid of the kleshas. The energy that we usually use to get something that is not giving us what we want, like we think, the intelligence, and da-da-da, or with anger, the strong energy to get rid of something or somebody, we use it here against the kleshas. So even those that are kleshas themselves, but one uses it kind of in a homeopathic way, not in a harmful way. So you're not destroying yourself. You really know the target. The target is not you. The target is these wrong conceptions. And the main target is an I that is producing aversion and attachment or desire. Okay? So he's kind of vowing that to take his anger as a remedy to be free from his kleshas. And it's that sometimes also I have this against myself when I see again I said something really unpleasant, and I have this enthusiasm to get rid of it. So it feels a bit like anger, but it's not anger to destroy something that is wholesome, but it's an energy that can be used. Yeah? And this is why in tantric practice you use these two energies. Once you have understood emptiness, then you can use these two energies, attachment and aversion, desire. Yeah? Because with desire, this is why in tantric practice everything is very beautiful and very appealing, usually, especially in Kriya Tantra. So and everything, you make everything very beautiful, the offerings and this and that. So it's much easier for the mind to stay on something that is pleasant than something that is unpleasant. But you also use wrathful deities in order to get rid of something. But you need to have understood emptiness, because otherwise you just fortify pleasures. And the same here. If you go with anger against yourself as a person, it's going to be totally the wrong remedy. Yeah. Same way, homeopathic remedies can be very powerful, but you need to know what to apply and in what doses also when you go for homeopathy. Okay?
It feels like the terminology is very strong.
It's very
because
violent.
it treats the remedy
Yeah.
as a disturbing emotion, and this for now don't abandon it, because use it to attack
Exactly,
the
yeah.
disturbing emotions.
Yes, exactly. Use it for the right target, not for yourself, but for the kleshas. Yeah. And he's using that language. Why? And also the Buddha. The Buddha also came from a warrior caste, and also Shantideva is a prince, so he comes from a warrior caste. That's why he's using that vocabulary. Well, like, some people say, oh, but Buddhists are so kind and gentle and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, they are in general, but it's also good to use strong energy, but that we have anyway, but use it, direct it somewhere else, not the outside enemy, but the inside enemy. Yeah, but not with the disturbing, not with the distortion of anger, but with the wisdom of actually what I'm destroying here is a phantom. Is something that does not exist. Yeah. Okay. It would be better for me to be burned, to have my head cut off, and to be killed, rather than ever bowing down to those ever-present disturbing emotions. So probably nobody will come to cut our head off and burn us and this and that. But again, it's this energy, this determination. No matter what, I will not give up. I will not give in to these kleshas. Yeah. And it's at the end of this chapter. So it comes after having understood the disadvantage of giving up bodhicitta, the preciousness of our situation that we have, that it will not last, and the consequences of after having meditated on the lower states. Yeah. So again, being able to bear short-term suffering in order to avoid long-term suffering. Okay. So try not to isolate the verses too much. See what came before, so then now you're ready to talk like this, And who is going to burn you at the moment? Definitely nobody, and not to cut your head off.
No, me.
Huh?
Me. I prefer to cut my head off than giving up to the...
Yeah, but cutting your head off, you give up your precious human life.
Then, just to show that
Yeah.
it's even better than giving way to the disturbing emotions. I will fight, I will not allow the disturbing emotion to take over. I prefer to cut my head. It's a matter of expression.
But please don't cut your head off if you have anger arising. If you feel that you gave in to anger, please don't cut yourself.
No, probably not.
So don't take this literally. It's really that enthusiasm that counts. Okay, common enemies, when expelled from one country, simply retire and settle down in another. Though when their strength is recovered, they then return. But the way of this enemy, by my disturbing emotions, is not similar in this respect, because every time you do not create another imprints for another klesha or habitual tendencies, that's it, it's gone. Every time you apply an antidote to the klesha, it will not make more plants. It will not ripen. That one will be finished. It will not gather strength like your outside enemies. Yeah. So it's worthwhile to go on that battle. That's what he says. Deluded, disturbing conceptions, when forsaken by the eye of wisdom. Now comes the empty. Finally comes with emptiness. That first is all this warrior talk and battle and all this. Now it comes with the eye of wisdom. They don't really exist. the way that they appear. Deluded, disturbing conceptions, when forsaken by the eye wisdom and dispelled from my mind, where will you go? Where will you dwell in order to be able to injure me again? But weak-minded, I have been reduced to making no effort to study emptiness. That's the effort you have to make here. To study their mode of existence. Yeah. But if you have, you see, first you need to go against them, I think, in a very forceful way. Because otherwise, if you're overcome by pleasures all the time, there's no way you see sometimes absence of pleasure. You see that you feel that sometimes, oh, there's absence of pleasure, there's absence of I. When there's no pleasure, there is no I. So you get a direct experience of, hey, I can function without an I. Actually, I feel better when this I is not very present. But if there's constant delusions coming, you never get that experience. So then all this thing about emptiness, that the I doesn't exist the way it appears, it's just empty talk. Yeah. So don't think I can only apply the wisdom of emptiness once I have had the direct experience of emptiness. No, be also conscientious of absence of anger, absence of desire, absence of jealousy, depression, whatever. And then feel the freedom and feel that if you go and look for the I, then there is no I to be seen anywhere. Whereas when there's anger and desire, then you can feel it in your heart. Yeah? So where does it go when there's an absence of pleasure? So then you go, where do they go? Nowhere. Because it doesn't exist the way that it manifests. And you start to kind of strengthen that or nourish that wisdom. I don't need an I to be able to exist. You still know who you are, by the way. Yeah, there's a general I, a conventional I. You know who you are. Buddha knows who he is. It's okay, but we superimpose a real, separate I or me on that one. Last one. Huh?
If we manage to experience this emptiness, so it increases also automatically?
It was?
What?
What increases?
The feeling of empty, the ability to feel empty
To feel
as an
free.
I.
Yeah.
So if we experience it once or twice or 3 times, then it increases.
It increases the knowledge, increases the wisdom, yeah, of course.
But does it increase the experience of no I?
The experience of no I, does it increase the experience of no I if you continue to have it? Yeah.
Like karma, does it increase by itself? Once you get it, it's like the stream entry. It will.
Well, you have to keep working on it. You have to keep meditating on it. You have to be conscientious, you know. It's like if you just have it once, you can't say, okay, now I got it, I'll wait for it to work. No, it's not like that. You have to continue. I mean, this is work until the end. This is not just like with a bicycle, you know, at the beginning you have to make some effort and then you can let go and then it goes. It's not like this. Then sometimes it goes very smoothly and you don't have to make a lot of effort because the energy of the first few things is there. But then, you know, sometimes it goes uphill and then you have to put energy in again. Yeah? And this is something really, I mean, bodhicitta and liberation and all this, you can't think short term. I do this for 2 years and then that's it. Yeah? But even if you only do it 2 years, it has benefit. Okay? Then be happy that you've done it for 2 years and don't hate yourself because you gave up. But in general, this is like, until the real enemy is gone, I will not give up. Yeah? If these disturbing conceptions do not exist within the objects, the sense organs between the two, nor not elsewhere, then where do they exist and how do they harm the world? They are like an illusion, thus I should dispel the fear within my heart and strive resolutely for wisdom. For no real reason why should I suffer so much in hell. Again, this whole thing, everything is just created by our own mind. It comes only at the end so that we don't fall into nihilism. Because nihilism is like, okay, well, anger does not exist, attachment does not exist, why should I work with them? I just let them go. So this is why. Yeah, this is why we have to, in order to transform your mind, first you have to learn to tame it. to tame it, to become a bit more peaceful and a bit more calm, so that you have moments of free from attachment, or lack of attachment, lack of anger,